Good morning. Welcome to day 35 of our 40 days of prayer. We are 5 days away from the launch of the Crossway Church of Christ in Salina, Texas. It has been an absolutely amazing journey. The things that have happened to make this possible, to see God at work, has just been a great experience to be a part of. But it can be a little nerve-wracking at times, and there's no doubt there have been times where we've been maybe a little doubtful, a little skeptical, maybe a little worried at times. But we need to remember the strength that we have. Somebody has said, and I'm not sure it's exactly accurate, but someone has said that the phrase "do not be afraid" or something similar occurs 365 times in the Bible. I don't know if you can really pull that out depending on different translations and things, but we can all agree on this. God is very clear that people tend to be fearful. And one of the things that God has to encourage us in is to not be fearful, to not be afraid. I don't know what you're afraid of. I'm a little hesitant maybe to tell you some of the things that I'm afraid of, because some of the people I work with I know they can be some pretty practical jokers, and if I were to say, like, I'm afraid of spiders, they would take advantage of me, I'm sure. So I'm not going to tell you what I'm afraid of. But we're all afraid of something. There are all some things that we don't like that, and we kind of jump back. The text that I want us to look at today is Hebrews chapter 10, really verses 19 through 39. I'm not going to read it all this morning, but I'd like to encourage you to read it. But I want to point out just a couple of verses. In verse 19, the Hebrew writer, and overall he's writing to a group of people who are struggling to hold on to their faith. There's a number of things going on, but it is a whole letter to this church that's really designed to help them to hang on and to not quit and to not give up. But in verse 19, the Hebrew writer says, "Therefore, brothers, since we have confidence," and he's talking about, I'll let you read what our confidence is in and what it's grounded in, but he tells us we have confidence, we have strength in our life. But he writes about some of the troubles and the discouraging things and the challenges that we face in life. And so in verse 35, he says, "So do not throw away your confidence." That's sometimes what's happening, is that we're confident. We start out confident. We start out bold. We start out with great faith, and then we start hitting obstacles and we start hitting problems, and we lose our nerve. Our confidence melts away. And the Hebrew writer, as well as all of Scripture, tells us don't be afraid. There are a million things in this world that are fear and anxiety producing. Like we talked about yesterday, we are to have our mind set on the things that are above, not on the things of this world. And so the Hebrew writer ends this chapter, and just as a reminder, the very next chapter, chapter 11, is what we often call the Hall of Faith, and it just lists person after person after person, by faith, by faith, by faith. Look at all that was accomplished by all of these people in the world, by faith in God. That's chapter 11, but the very last verse of Hebrews chapter 10 says this: we had confidence, don't lose your confidence. And then he just knows that we're not that kind of people. He says, but we are not of those who shrink back and are destroyed, but of those who believe and are saved. We are not the kind of people who are shrinking back in fear of what Satan and the world is going to throw at us. We've accepted a great challenge to plant a new church in Salina, Texas, to be a beacon of light to the world and community around us, to lift up Jesus and the gospel of salvation. And Satan is not going to take that lying down. He's going to throw everything he can at us to stop, to derail, to distract, and defeat us. But we are not of those who shrink back and are destroyed. But we are of those who put faith in God and are saved. So what are you afraid of? If God is in your corner, there is nothing to be afraid of. Keep that in the front of your hearts and minds as you pray to God for boldness and for strength and for courage and to be able to do the things that God has called us to do here in Salina, Texas. God bless you, and we'll see you tomorrow.